Hello, my name is Alyssa Hoffman, and I did my project on invasive aquatic invertebrates and their impact on economy and ecology. So, what are invasive aquatic invertebrates? They are non-native species that do not have a vertebral column. So, when I was looking into this project, I wasn't too sure what invasive meant. So here is a definition of what an invasive species is. An invasive species is a species that causes harm to an environment where they are not native. So where can you find invasive aquatic invertebrates? You can find them in fresh water, such as rivers, streams, lakes. You can find them in oceans, inland waters, and wetlands. So, how do species get to new environments become invasive? Well, for aquatic animals, it's by ship ballast water, which I have a picture here on the right to show how exactly that happens, how the non-native species become mixed in with the native species, by accidental release, and by people and wildlife. People use the species like fish and crayfish as bait, and they also grab and transport them for pets and also wildlife also transports, like birds, they grab food out of the water and drop them somewhere else. So those are a few examples of how they kind of get transported to different areas. So here are some examples of invasive aquatic invertebrates in the U.S. Mollusks and crustaceans are the most common found in the U.S., as long as the crusty crayfish, mussels, New Zealand mud snails, and jellies. And here on the right is a picture of the New Zealand mud snails. Now, they are not found in mud, but they are very tiny. So back with the examples, here is the New Zealand mud snail and how they affect ecosystems. They are native to New Zealand. They were first discovered in the Idaho Snake River in US. Um, they are very tiny. They can be found in waterways such as lakes, rivers, and streams. They have the ability to consume up to half of the food available to native species, which makes it really hard for native species to survive. They outcompete other species, and their primary food is algae. They can clog water intake pipes, which can be very costly, and they are so small which they are commonly overlooked, and it's so easy to transport them from fishing gear and other things like that. So the next example that I have is the rusty crayfish. They are species of fresh water. They are native to the Ohio River in southern US. They are an invasive in Minnesota and Wisconsin. They are very big and aggressive, which makes them very easy to outdo other species. They are normally transported by people who are using them as bait. They are very resilient. They compete with native crayfish for food and shelter, which causes native species to have less food and force them out. They cause harm to fish populations by consuming aquatic vegetation needed for the fish. So the last example that I have of invasive aquatic invertebrates is the white spotted jellyfish. They are native to Australia and the Philippines. The date of the U.S. introduction was 1981 in California. They attach themselves to ships, which is how they get transported to place. They are invasive in California, Gulf of Mexico, and the East Coast, but only in small portions so far on the East Coast. There's not a whole lot. They feed on zooplankton. They are able to consume a massive amount of zooplankton, which makes them a threat to ecosystems. And some of the negative impacts that they have is the shrimp industry by clogging the nets and fish equipment, which makes it really hard on the economy and fishers. The ecological impacts of invasive aquatic invertebrates include destroying native food sources and how it can lead to extinction of native animals, decreasing the population sizes of native species, which makes it really hard on fisheries, the competition for food and changes of food webs, and how they can change and alternate their habitats. So some economy impacts of aquatic invasive invertebrates include outdoor recreation, which includes swimming and boating. It can make it very difficult. Costs for control, replacing equipment and keeping invasive species out can be very costly and damaging, like boats, fishing gear, nets. Also, native fisheries by leading to the extinction of native species. So it really hurts that industry a lot and causes a lot of decrease in money. So what can we do to help? We can use native bait when fishing and not using different species in different environments as bait. Cleaning our equipment very well since tiny, like the New Zealand mud snail is very tiny. So making sure that we do a whole cleaning of our equipment when we get done fishing, or checking our boats and keeping them updated to make sure that we are not transporting any other species, and just being educated all around and really knowing your environment and species that are supposed to be in that environment as well. Well, that is all for that, and thank you for watching and have a nice day.